Simple advice is often the least corrupted. When it comes to the best ways to be healthy, we are surrounded by clutter and contradiction. You're told you should give up meat, but go ahead and eat fake meat. You should try intermittent fasting, but take it even further and eat only one large meal per day. But a few years ago, you were supposed to eat 6 small meals a day. You should do keto. Nope, you should be vegan. You should do both. No, you should be straight carnivore because plants have chemicals that hurt you. Why are we so messed up and confused about something that should be simple? Well, what is the usual reason for that in the times we're living in? Greedy people power tripping. Follow the money. The diet industry makes billions. Food manufacturers have a responsibility to shareholders, not to the public, and many research studies are funded by corporations with a financial stake in the outcome. We have to sweep away the clutter and come back to basic truths. We know we can trust God, and we know what people ate before a profit-driven industry got involved. We can come back to common sense. And guess what? It turns out science is beginning to reveal how and why that common sense is the basis for good health. Let's boil everything down. I'm going to give you the simplest dietary advice that is also the most effective if you're ready to optimize your health. Eat a nutrient-dense diet made up of real food, properly prepared for nutrient absorption. And remember to chew your food thoroughly, your great-grandma was right, because that's where digestion begins. That's it. It's still confusing though, because we've lost a lot of knowledge about what properly prepared even means. So let's get into that. This is another topic that researchers don't yet fully understand. So we can look at the data, but then we must ask ourselves what we believe God intended. How are we designed? How is our food designed? Basically, what makes sense in relation to how our world was created? If we go back to the bottom line, we know that the Bible does not tell us not to eat plants. It does not tell us not to eat meat. We can look through a biblical lens, a scientific lens, and the lens of common sense and see the same thing, that human beings were created as omnivores, defined as an organism naturally able to consume animals, plants, fungi, and algae. Then we can look at what humans have traditionally eaten and analyze the cultures who are the healthiest and living the longest and see more evidence of what is best. There are a few things to consider when deciding what to eat. 1, how the food is prepared. 2, whether the nutrients are in a form that is ready for the body to absorb. And 3, whether your body is digesting food properly. People who've become a bit fanatical about the carnivore diet, have you heard of this yet? They'll go on and on about the defense chemicals in plants and the harm they do to your body. The defense chemicals in plants are known as anti-nutrients and include phytate, tannins, protease inhibitors, calcium oxalate, and lectins. We'll talk a bit more about anti-nutrients and toxins in a later lesson. They can block digestive enzymes from reaching parts of a food to be digested and inhibit your body's absorption of essential nutrients like calcium and other minerals. They aren't lying about those chemicals, but they also aren't mentioning or don't know that those chemicals are altered when plant food is prepped in certain ways, and combining those chemicals with certain nutrients reduces their effect. It turns out that these things have taken place in the preparation of traditional diets all along. And researchers are now discovering that under some circumstances, anti-nutrients may actually have some beneficial health effects, so it isn't necessary to get rid of them completely. Soaking, sprouting, fermenting, and boiling are all methods that somewhat reduce anti-nutrients. They are further reduced in some cases completely when those methods are combined. For example, in a study, sprouting and fermentation of corn almost completely removed phytate, while soaking and boiling pigeon peas led to a 98 to 100% reduction in lectins, tannins, and protease inhibitors. Also in one study, the addition of 30 milligrams of vitamin C counteracted phytate. Something else to consider is bioavailability, meaning whether or not the nutrients in the food are in the easiest to absorb form. For certain nutrients, animal sources are far superior to plant sources. Here are some examples. It is estimated that only 5% of calcium from spinach is absorbed, but 32% of calcium from dairy foods is absorbed. Vitamin D3 is produced by human skin in the presence of ultraviolet light from the sun, or obtained from animal products. Plant sources contain vitamin D2. Vitamin D3 is considerably more bioavailable than vitamin D2. Iron comes in two forms, heme from animal sources and non-heme from plant sources. Heme iron is more readily absorbed across the gut compared to non-heme iron. There are also two forms of vitamin A, retinol and carotenoids, like beta-carotene. Retinol is preformed vitamin A and comes from animal sources. Carotenoids from plant sources must be converted to retinol. So vitamin A is approximately 20 times more bioavailable in animal foods than plants. If your gut health isn't optimal, you won't absorb optimal levels of the nutrients in your food. Having a damaged gut, food allergies, bacterial imbalances or overgrowth, infection, or autoimmune disease can affect nutrient absorption. We'll talk more about gut health in the next lesson. And later in this course, I'll give you a list of the most nutrient-dense foods as well as tips for preparation.